whereby two representatives of the Party for Progress, the PFP party, who will be first to be submitting their list on Wednesday, 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yep. Very early.
It just fits right in with them. Anyway.
Early birds.
I want to welcome to first question. I want to say good afternoon to these two gentlemen in front of them. I want to say welcome Marvio Cooks. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
I think Marvio, pull back a little closer.
A little closer? Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
we're good. We're good.
Marvio, believe you're the president of the party?
No, I'm the deputy leader.
Deputy leader.
You're looking in the future far, man.
Excuse me, Mr. Leader. Excuse me, Mr. Deputy Leader. Whoa. And you ready? You go plug it. Yeah. And then we have Patrice Gumbs.
Yep.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing, sir?
Good. Pretty
I
good,
like to
thanks.
call this one Ambassador St. Martin. This is our ambassador to everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, when he travels and he goes to certain countries in his presence, that's our embassy. So
nice.
That's
Never thought
what
about that way, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what you are. The traveling embassy.
Yep.
Good afternoon, fellas. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
We're doing good. Doing good on this Monday morning.
Yeah.
Afternoon, y'all.
Yeah.
And they're both candidates, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
They're both candidates for the upcoming election. So, Patrice, how's it doing? How's it going? It's not your first rodeo.
Actually, the first time was 4 years ago when we started off with PFP. I think compared to last time, we had some time to build into this. And we had time to sort of prepare. If you recall, when we announced the party was launching on a Sunday night, government fell Sunday. Yeah. And then all of a sudden
Yeah, that's right.
And everyone thought we were involved in the fall, and
Somehow
the government fell to put us in there, and then we launched the following Friday.
Yeah.
And bam, we're right into the election. And that's kind of what we didn't want. We wanted to sort of be different, launch a party outside of an election, build momentum, build following, build a group, build our ideology, and sell it. And then things took off, and here we are now. 4 years later, 2 seats, and we're back at it again. And
I mean, I remember when you launched it, it was like, what is group?
What are you doing? Election coming? Everybody was elections.
This massive guy darted ball in here. That sort of things. But you guys, I mean, those 2 seats are actually, I think, shocked a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it goes to it's credit to your ground game in how you reached out to the folks.
Yeah.
And have you managed to maintain that in the last 4 years?
Yes. I think one of the key things that PFP said is that we're not going to do what everybody else does.
Right.
Everyone does these massive rallies. They're screaming at people. They hand out free chicken leg and Johnny cake. They bring in artists to sing. It's all wonderful, but then no one still knows what you're actually about.
Yeah.
So our campaign strategy from the jump was no big sort of events, town halls, door to door, house to house. And you see it now in this election cycle, it's being copied. Yeah. Everyone is doing door to door. No one has had any big rallies. Everyone has a manifesto. I mean, they've had it, but it's never been front and center. This is what we think.
Yeah.
And people are seeing that what PFP did 4 years ago with 8 candidates with 2 seats, what we achieved by just changing and going back to a lot of what people used to do back in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And it worked.
But I think last time too, I think because of you guys, I think you demanded, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you demanded the involvement of a formator and an informator, and that you speak to everybody.
Yes.
The ombudsman. The process.
Yes.
Okay. Instead of we have a deal at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's it. Government farm.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of what lot of what you saw in the past is someone calling somebody via the party leader has no idea. A deal is struck with some other people. They might go independent, bust off from the rest of the party. And, for us, we have campaigned from the jump as a party.
Right.
A lot of people are now campaigning as a party now all of a sudden as well.
They're trying.
And they're trying. And I think to some degree, again, it goes back to PFP set that tone that, listen, parties set the agenda, not individuals riding the party wave to get in.
Yeah. Exactly. So Marvio, you're on the list again.
Yes, I am.
So I'm sure you have your own ideas and stuff that you're running on your own platform.
For sure. Each of us, and I think that's what's the cool thing about PFP is that each of us does have our own. I like to call it passion, our own goals, but they all align with the party goals.
Correct.
Yep. I'm a gamer. I like to think that all of us have our own characteristics, our own special abilities, and we just bring those abilities together to make a well-rounded team. And that's what PFP is about. This time around, you know, I'm definitely pushing representation. You know, I'm not new to this political arena. I spent the past 4 years, if not even more, actually since Irma, I haven't stopped showing what it's like to actually represent not only your community but your country, represent your sport that you love. And this time around, I'm seeing that people are waking up. You know, they're seeing that you have to not just, it's not a popularity contest. You need to be able to look at, like Patrice said, look at what the platform is. Is what the party talking about, is what the candidate talking about something that you can resonate with, something that you can see and want for your country going forward. And this time around, I'm really looking forward to seeing more people take a look at PFP, take a look at me. You know, I'm not new to this game, like I say. It's not now that I'm coming out on Facebook. It's not now that I'm coming out with some special program. You know, and I really do believe that representation is something that should be taken seriously. PFP has taken that initiative very seriously from when we started, and for the past year, our candidates have been getting trained. You know, we talked to I like to say that I talk to my campaign team before I say good morning to my own wife. And, you know, because it's something that's serious, and I love the campaign team because they always remind us, if you can't take care of the basics right now, how can we trust you to represent the country? And that's something that I'm asking and really telling the people of St. Martin, take a look at PFP, take a look at me. We are doing the work, we've been prepared, and we're ready to not only just represent but govern.
When you say training, what have you been putting your candidates through?
He does get in the hot seat, so I'm gonna let him get some of it first.
You know, I'll tell you. I think, you know, it's amazing because again, it goes down to the fact of, in the past, people run and you have 50 first cousins, okay, run. Listen, you on this community council, okay. You really popular on the radio, go run. And we're like, no. Running is more than just being popular. And for us, it boils down to the fact that we've been going through, like, since I think October last year, a little before, really from October till now, going through interview prep. So basically everything on speaking, on tone, on basically body language. But one of the things that I actually enjoyed the most, we had a recent session on relatability and empathy. Relatability and empathy. Essentially, how do you take the best aspect of yourself and project, and also how do you work on what needs to be worked on? Because, you know, as a team, you have to support each other and also realize that you might be saying things from your point of view. Are the voters getting it? Are you speaking people's language? And I think we have a pretty amazing team. I harass them and I give them a lot of grief a lot of times, but they're on you every day. Delivering writing skills. We sit down every week. We have us sit down about what's happening, current events. We hash it out. What's the point of view? So you really have to, like, look at this as a profession. You know, you don't hire a plumber to go fix an electrical problem. You're not going to hire somebody who can speak and communicate and effectively to
sit in Parliament and represent. And you know, another part that I really like is that we take our time as candidates together as a team and write our manifesto. Every single part of our manifesto was written by one of the candidates and discussed together. It's not like we say, let's just copy and paste, put something together real quick, make it look nice. No, we deliberate on what we're putting. We take a look at
your ideas on giving, for example, in that industry, Patrice Gumbs.
Exactly. You can talk on that. Exactly. And then you know, even so for example, Luciano Nichols' ideas on waste management. We can talk on that because he talks to us about it. We understand. The same thing with MP Rayon Peterson. The same thing with David Solomon. The same thing with Patrice and me. When it comes to STEAM and education, and with Rosalinda as well, we take our experiences together, and that's what I really like about PFP. And I think that's something that St. Martin has been missing. You know, I like to say that let me do me a favor and I'll do you a favor culture that we've had on St. Martin in politics has done no favors to St. Martin. You know, it's something that has led us to where we're at. And many people, I find it funny that some of the people that pointed out, I'm like, but you were a player. But you know, we have selective amnesia, and maybe they're changing their lives. You know, kudos to you, manifest what you want. But we have to actually take our time, and like Patrice said, if I hire a plumber and this plumber don't fix this pipe today,
Yeah.
Yep.
I give them a chance tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they come and somehow they made the job worse.
Yeah.
They're going to cost me more. Us as people, we will tell our neighbor and go online and let everybody know, don't hire this plumber. But somehow we don't have the same level of accountability towards or responsibility towards our representatives. And you know, we've been doing that. We've been had these plumbers, the leaks are worse.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, at this point we need to actually take the time and get back to what we actually need. And PFP is that team.
Yeah.
PFP, you know, come January 11th, I think St. Martin is going to show the world that they're tired.
Right.
And, you know, and that's the sentence that got me over here.
Right.
Melissa one day sat down at an event with me and looked at me and said, Marvio, you ain't tired yet? And I said, yes. And here we are. And I think St. Martin's at that point too.
Yeah.
It got worse. At least I just trying to picture something when you say it. I'm just picturing water filling up palm in the lake. Anyway, so Patrice, how is PFP going to fix these leaks? How are you going to address these leaks?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's a number of things.
Right.
You know, it depends on the area you're speaking about. And I think one thing we always told people, there's some things that can be fixed right away, and there's some things that are long-term plan.
Correct.
So in our manifesto, how we actually divide it up is that we have the immediate fixes and we have the short-term and the medium term. So if I can just jump in on one of the things that we're speaking about a lot
please.
on as been championed by myself and Ludmilla DeWeaver, economic and tax reform.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we constantly speak about, everyone talks about profit tax, income tax is too high, and also the cost of living. So how do we address these things step by step? So one of the first things that we're actually looking at is that from the point of view of right away, you can cut profit tax.
Okay.
If you look at how government operates, the bulk of government's money actually comes from wage tax.
Okay.
Profit tax brings in minimal amounts of money, and most companies can be creative in their accounting and they just mitigate all their profits.
Right.
You get rid of that. That will incentivize companies to actually contribute. You can reduce profit tax actually by us by 15%. We're going to have 15% profit tax in our manifesto.
Because the big part tax is what?
34.5.
34.5.
We're actually
Essentially
extremely
want to
high.
half it.
Yeah, we're going to make it 15%. And why we put it 15%?
That's a big cut.
Yeah. And why we actually were looking at making it 0%, there's international regulations now that say that you have to have a certain minimum unless otherwise can be proven. So we're starting with that because that's the baseline. So let's get us there first right away.
Right.
In the medium to long term, we're looking at things, for example, the cost of living. We've been talking for lots of time about the poverty line in St. Martin.
Yes.
How do we come up? How do we come up with, first of all, minimum wage and what we give in terms of pensions and welfare if we have no idea what it actually costs to live on St. Martin as a baseline for poverty?
Right.
Secondly, then not only the poverty line, but of living wage, because the poverty line is your base. You don't want to pay people along your poverty line.
Right.
If this is the base for work, how do we go above that? And that's a long-term discussion you have to have, looking at, for example, to ensure that, you know, by giving people more money, you also cause inflation.
Right.
So for us, it's a step-by-step process in terms of things have to happen slowly. We're looking at a bunch of other things in terms of profit tax.
Even when it comes to, like, for example, we mentioned education. Something that has always been talked about for years is this special education, special education school. When are we going to have it? How are we going to get it? PFP has been talking to specialists that, you know, are in that field and asking them, what is it that you actually need?
Yeah, they have a lot
because
of concerns
they have a lot of concerns. And, you know, we like to think that we can just throw concrete at something and call it a day.
Progress.
But it's not, you know, a building doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
You need to actually understand what the professionals are having on the ground and what they're going through. And that's something PFP has been doing. And the tax plan, the idea is because people always say, you know, it takes money. But it also takes partnership. It takes people. And that's something that PFP is about. And that's something that we're talking about, even using our tax plan to be able to fund certain social initiatives and help neurodivergent children in a way that actually has some long-term benefits.
The boogeyman has always been, though, if you cut a profit tax or whatever, how do you recoup that money that government's going to be losing? You know, that's always been kind of
the boogeyman. But the truth is,
so how do you address that?
And you know, it's because again, this is the thing I always talk about. Like, if you are giving me oppressive taxation, oppressive lifestyle, I will try to hide it. If you say, listen, you know what? We know St. Martin is mostly imports. We know this is high, we're going to cut this. People are more willing to give a little bit than none at all.
Sure.
And right now, we are getting almost nothing at all. Compliance in St. Martin is extremely low. And it's low because people are like, listen, y'all taxing me high. All these lines, government procedures are intense. I got stamp 2 hours for a 5 guilder stamp.
Yeah.
How do you regulate in consensus and make investment look attractive and also look at also improving wages for people? Right. People are more willing to give a bit more if you show them that, listen, it's a give and take and it's a partnership like what Marvio spoke about.
And it's encouraging to just, you know, we like to say, and MP Peterson like to say it too. Just because it is minimum wage doesn't mean that that's what you have to pay them.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's something that PFP is working towards. We want to not only incentivize but also encourage companies to understand that the persons that are working for you, they are not just some piece of meat that's there. They have lives, they have things. Just because you can pay them the least doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. What about some give back to the companies themselves?
And that's something that I'm glad that you talked about. Yeah, because that's one of the reasons that we also did the tax plan like that. Look at me, I'm talking about taxes like I'm
and that's fundamentally the idea of why the party does what it does. You have to talk about
that's the training right there. One of the things that we want to do, and we talked about it, is put benchmarks based on how many employees and how much money you are actually bringing in per year. Okay. So under a certain, I'm not going to say the figures right now because I want people to actually go to check the manifesto and check it out, but read it and check it out. Yeah, all the time. You know, that last page is serious. Yes, but you know, we read it. We want to place benchmarks that help companies, especially small to medium enterprise businesses, local businesses, be able to actually reflect what it is that they make, and also be able to give back to the community that they love by being able to not squeeze them so hard on the taxes. You know, we want to be able to say, okay, here's a list. You know, we have organizations such as Empower that have done a great job listing out what type of NGOs we have and what their needs are, and that's something that we're about. You know, we want to be able to standardize things. So, for example, one thing we're talking about doing is, yes, we're going to incentivize you make under a certain amount of 100,000, whatever it is, at the end of the year. We're going to give you a list of NGOs that you can actually give back to, things that the community needs, and then based on what you give back to, that percentage of your taxes that you give back to that organization, now you have a cut that comes towards you. So so you know, and I like to say that, you know, PFP really puts their thoughts into play, because people in partnership is what we're about. And that's part of it. You know, we like to let what we talk about be reflected in what we do. And that's part of the plan, is being able to say, okay, look, we understand taxes are high. We understand that organizations and our communities need help. Let's create some sort of tripartite that makes that happen.
Because right now you're talking about okay, the raise minimum wage, but to me the company is like, okay.
And that's the problem.
What about me?
Exactly.
Because what's going to happen to me? Yeah, sure, you raise minimum wage, but if you don't offer them something like you guys are offering, they're going to say, okay, you have a little bit more. I'm disposable income. So
that's it.
I'm going to raise my price.
I think what it is fundamentally is that looking at both sides are equal partners in this. And I think we also, you know, in politics, people always attack the business or they attack the worker. PFP is trying to say, listen, both need each other.
Correct.
How do we sort of bring them together in a way that is attractive and
mutually beneficial,
bring about long-term benefits to everybody?
Because and it's the same thing when we talk about sports and education. You know, basketball is my passion, and that's something that I feel, and it's also our national sport. It's something that we should never let die. And I think that, you know, being able to have a tax plan and sometimes some type of incentive like this would help sports organizations be able to receive the sustainable type of funds that they need on a yearly basis without having to go begging door to door all the time for something that is actually helping our student athletes. We talk about diversifying our tourism industry. We talk about what it is that we present to people, but we don't think about the student athletes. Do you know how many places? I know places in the world where people travel just to go watch their sports. They'll log in just to watch what's going on there, and we are missing out on that because we're not investing into those type of things.
Or, you know, right now the country, the people are burdened by a handful of things primarily. A lot of things, but you're talking about GB's fuel. You're talking about the price of food. You're talking about the high price of rent. I mean, I ask everybody this question. I mean, right now you speak to voters, that's all they want to hear about. They want to hear your solution for those things. How do you speak to voters about these key things that they only care about these things.
Yeah.
I only care about consuming 200 and paying 1,000. I don't care about that.
So I think one of the things that, and I think particularly for our member party, Luciano Nichols, he's very big on renewable energy and social strategies, as well as David Solomons. And I think in my work in foreign affairs, we've gone abroad and we've found partners to partner with government towards solutions for renewable energy, because we are completely dependent right now on heavy fuel, and the reality is the high cost of heavy fuel. It fluctuates, it constantly happens, and then GB has to constantly maintain that. There's a lot of money that goes into that. If you can say, for example, which we're doing as PFP, we have a very strong renewable energy component to our manifesto. And for us, it's about, listen, there is a high cost, what we have to do is transform GB. And it sounds, high level and whatever, and how's that going to help me? The first thing you have to look at, basically, is changing how we do energy, moving away from heavy fuel, and basically supporting people to transition towards renewable energy. That's everything from example, looking at how can we look at solar panels. We have initiatives built into our manifesto that gives credit and incentives towards, if you have a flat roof, for example, you can take that back as an initiative and credit towards GB.
Based on your square footage, you can put some solar panels there, and then again.
I understand. Okay.
Because in the end of the day, St. Martin is what we call a price taker. So we don't decide what happens in the world. We're just the most heavily impacted by everything that happens in the world. Yeah,
we're a small developing island state. You know? And I think that's one thing that we have to be very open about when we talk to people. And that's something that how we approach. It's really from a place of understanding and a place of giving them the facts that might not sound good, but just because, like we like to say, just because the medicine tastes bad don't mean we're not going to give it to you. We're going to give it to you, and that's the part, is that we have to let people understand the reality that we live in.
It has been bad for so long. You expect Rome to be built in
exactly, and I think part of it too is that the certain representatives that we've had running our country so far have made it seem like as if it's a no-brainer to do certain things, or as if they can just themselves get up and make a difference in something. And it's
as if people's not going to
understand.
It's a process.
A process, and that's something that PFP does. We let them understand what the process is. We let them understand what steps we are taking right now, and how they can also take some steps to assist. Because that's the other part. I grew up on St. Martin. My grandmother from here, family from here, and we have a certain pride in taking and doing things on our own. And we also, I think that's something that has to be communicated, even as candidates, as parties speaking to our constituents, is that we have to understand that they're not powerless. There is a part that you can play. And that comes with being able to pick people that understand how to get you involved. Right? So that's something that, that's how we approach our constituents.
I think too, just to cut you off, but I think too, one of the issues that you have is that people see politics is something that's not them. And I remember last time we were campaigning, and it was a question, people were like, make sure you come back, don't disappear. And PFP actually was the only party who consistently campaigned and was present. We had town halls, we had walkthroughs for the whole 4 years, and people didn't show up. And that was the strange part to me. People complained that people disappear, and then when you're engaging, there's this belief that people only engage with politics when it's election time. And what Marvio is saying is, listen, like, our phone numbers are the same from last time. We have the same car. We have the same email address. You know where most of us live. You know where we work. Reach out. And some people have reached out, but this idea of, like what Marvio said, I do you a favor, here's a little, $100 vote for me, don't trouble me again until next election. And that's what we're trying to break as PFP.
And that's something that we also have to understand as a people, is that when you do that,
it starts with your generation.
It starts with us. It starts with us, we're the ones that are supposed to start making sure that change happens. And the only way to do it is to be that. Look, I'm going to be very honest. It's not my first time on the road doing this as a politician, right? And I like to say that, being in politics should be taken as a noble cause. We had someone, a former prime minister, who came and told us, and it really resonated with me, because I always had a problem with that. The definition of politician in our society has become synonymous with corruption and lack of meaningful action. And I think that's all the people are seeing, and PFP is there to change that definition. The candidates, every single candidate we have is there to change that definition. That's why we're not fielding a list of 23. We're fielding a list of quality, and that's something that we want the people to understand, that hey, when it comes to PFP and you see our candidates, you can reach out to us.
Right.
Ask us a question. We might not have all the answers,
Right.
but we will look for the answers and we will involve you. You know, we went and when it comes to even taxes, we spoke to the specialists that are there. We
Yep.
spoke to everybody that
Yeah,
has
not a bunch of
expertise.
know-it-alls.
And not a
No.
bunch of know-it-alls, you know, and then...
And we also lean on each other. I think
Yeah,
the
we lean-
expertise of, I've learned so much about tech in the last week alone after losing my iPhone.
Yeah.
But, it's that,
Yeah,
thanks,
yeah.
I got it all back. But I think fundamentally, like what Marvio said, it's about leaning on each other, building quality, and when you don't have within, you find partners. And that's what we...
And
that's
being
how we wanna do
okay
it.
with that part, because that's something that
Yeah.
I've seen in my 10 years experience as a civil servant, is that a lot of people lead with their egos. And when that idea or when that whatever initiative comes and it doesn't come out from their section or themselves, then it's put to the side. And I think that PFP has shown that in Parliament too.
You guys have always been honest with your constituents.
Yeah.
You tell them what they need.
Yes.
Not what they want to.
Yeah.
Have you encountered in terms of they've been equally honest with you in terms of your performance over the last 4 years? Have they been expressing that to you?
The ones that are paying attention, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Have any expressed that they wanted to see PFP do a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yes.
Parliament?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think that's a question that we get often. Because I think fundamentally what you see is that people are used to an opposition that is loud, but loud for the sake of loud, and when the camera off, they do nothing. And I think PFP has remained quiet. We have remained quiet, but working in the background.
Yeah.
Quiet
a
and
lot of the
effective.
things we have been doing, we've been lobbying across the opposition and the coalition, and we've gotten done. The Curtin Initiative is now
Yes.
done.
By the way, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Congratulations. Thank you. I see a lot of people trying to claim credit.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people can care, but I mean,
but when you build it, that's what it is. When you build it,
Yeah.
you come.
Yeah,
That's how
I
it is.
mean, the Curtin Initiative, I think MP Gumbs has spoken a lot about period poverty.
Yes.
That's something that has been pushed a lot.
Yes.
As well as we've been looking at MP Peterson has speaking a lot about accountability in terms of, in particular, Rummy, because Rummy, and everyone thinks that, he's hitting on the minister of Rummy. But if you look at all the history of St. Martin politics in the past 4 years, they have the most complaints.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's the most troubling ministry, and actually, MP Peterson is bringing it out all the time, and no one is listening because thinking, oh, he's just taking it personally. And here we are now,
4 years
wait,
later.
4 years later, and
Yeah.
guess what? No new government land can be issued because the ombudsman said, well, listen, you all have this report, nothing was done. PFP tried to give a motion of disapproval to correct it. No one did anything.
Right.
We tried to send them home. No one did anything. They kept him there. And here we are now. No one's getting new land until you have basically something in place that has a criteria. And all it boils down to is good governance. That's all we're talking
And
about as
also
PFP.
public trust.
Yeah.
Public trust in government and government processes has been on an all-time low.
It
I'm a
is very
civil
low.
servant, and I have never seen our morale be as low as it is today.
now.
I'm not even going to mention the morale in education. It's not something that I don't want to get hit up later. It's something. It's the truth. Well, that's something that PFP is adamant about, and that's why we approach people the way we do, because we have to build that trust. You have to let them understand that, hey, yes, you're not hearing what you want, but at least you're getting a real picture of where you stand and where your
where we
country
need to
is
go.
and where we need to go.
Right.
And that's something that as like Patrice mentioned, is that as a team, we always are looking to see how is it that we can better communicate this, because people do come to us and say, especially to me, they say, Marvio, but I ain't hearing PFP, I ain't seeing well, you're doing it, but I like to say, it doesn't bother me, because I say, look at that. You are so impressed with the way that PFP represents you that you forget we're in opposition. That you wish they were in coalition. You wish they were the ones making the decision. And come January 11th, it doesn't have to be a wish anymore. You just have
make
to
it
put your
happen.
back there.
True. Because you're also a candidate.
Yes.
You have what are some of your particular points that you're focused on with this election?
Yeah, so particularly picking up on what Marvio said about trust.
Right.
So one of my things as a civil servant myself, I work in foreign affairs. And, I think we underestimate the importance and value of respectable representation. So whenever we go abroad, and one of the first things a couple of years
ago, that point a few times.
Yeah, a couple of.
Well, your guys' tasks are so underrated.
Yeah, a couple of years ago we went away, and it was kind of in that time that every member of parliament was under investigation, and every member of parliament was being, raided. And you're going abroad, being St. Martin, and trying.
Everyone.
Not everyone, but I mean, it was a disproportionately high amount of persons, and I think you're going abroad and trying to discuss different things like human rights and like come and invest in St. Martin, and people are coming to you and like, and if they know you long enough, they're like, Patrice, what's going on in St. Martin really? Because we're a bit worried. I've been doing this now for 10 years, and there's a number of training we go through. Yeah, it's been tough.
Okay.
Because how am I supposed to take all these ideas that are happening in the government building and put them internationally and defend the things that happen internationally? I go to court in Geneva sometimes to defend human rights for St. Martin. I go to try and shop around different ideas and people to come and invest. And the first thing they're looking at is like, I can't trust you as a partner if internally you have members of parliament who are convicted for things like fraud, and I'm going to give my money to you. These are off, to the side conversations, but it impacts St. Martin. And I think for me, what I'm pushing for a lot is that you need effective representation that knows how to take what's happening in St. Martin and lobby it and shop it around the world to bring it back home.
Right.
Because a lot of the times you realize that what St. Martin needs is global partnerships. Yes. Every single thing that happens here in St. Martin is impacted by the world. How do we find the best partners abroad to make things happen? So, for example, we found the partners for the energy transition that's currently being discussed within government. Right. Because you can't do it alone. We're a small country, limited capacity, limited finances. Yes. A second thing I find very important here is agriculture. And particularly not necessarily the traditional agriculture, going into the ground, but how do we take agriculture, given our small space, limited land, how do you make that 21st century? Right. It's about professionalizing it. So things like, for example,
spatial planning
is very important to that. Urban gardens. Yeah. How do you take agriculture and make it something that's linked to science? Right. So, for example, there's a great farm happening now called Sage Farms. They're doing container farms. And it's basically about 10,000 heads of lettuce in a space of a container, and that can feed your population. So it becomes more of a science linking back to things like STEAM, which Marvio speaks about, but also looking at basically how do you make this something that's attractive to people who don't want to be out in the sun digging into the ground.
The idea is to stop putting our finger in our mouth and hoping that the wind blows to tell us where to go.
Yeah.
We need to be able to use data and actual what's happening on the ground to be able to help. Look, we're talking about representation. That's something too that I am pushing, proper representation. And it's something that I noticed that we need in more than just our politics. Look, I like to make a joke with Patrice and Mel all the time. I'd rather be a member of parliament than be president of basketball right now, because the amount of politics, the amount of hidden agendas that you have to deal with just to make sure that you can secure a properly developed sport for student athletes is ridiculous. But it's something that someone had to take and do. And that's something that we want everyone to take a look at PFP for, because we have candidates like me, candidates like Nelly, that have been out in the community, been doing the things that we complain about and that we would like to see more of. So if you would like to see more of it, imagine what a person like me can do with more support, with more resources, with more access to organizations and foreign organizations that can help. We needed a federation. I worked hard. It was down for 8 years. Youth basketball was gone for 8 years. In a year and a half, I was able to rebrand it and give you 8 months of developed basketball. And that's something that we have to do as a small developing island state. We have to be very cognizant of our reality, and we have to be very good at not only negotiating, but knowing who to negotiate with.
No, but Patrice, you mentioned something very interesting, because oftentimes you hear the excuse that, we can't form a partnership, or we can't form an alliance, and we can't form this or whatever because of the Dutch.
Yeah.
And we can't, and Holland have to do it for us. It seems like always the excuse is a word.
But
in your travels, I guess that is not quite true.
No, and I think fundamentally, and not to be too abstract, but foreign affairs is something that belongs to the kingdom. Right. But every country in this kingdom has a foreign affairs office, or DBB, in the government building, who can basically do anything they want once it's not necessarily against
That's the
kingdom
point.
lines. So
Correct.
kingdom lines could be like, for example, if I don't know, if the kingdom says today we're not trading with Iran, you can't go do business with Iran.
With Iran, right.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much it. And I think, fundamentally what I think is the problem, foreign partners don't accept a lot of the shady stuff that
That's going
we
on.
That's the
do here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know what? Push that foreign partner aside. We can do it ourselves. We can take the information and we can make sure that Tom, Dick, and Harry and Maria get a piece of whatever
Right.
could cut out to that. And that's the fundamental part. And I think, too, the level of corruption that has permeated our development is that if it's not something's not there for me, it's not going to happen. We're not going to move forward.
Yeah.
Why have we not gotten that message? Basically, why is that not? Why have we not been slapped with that? Like, hey, this is what's happening in the world. And I know your position, you're limited sometimes with whatever. But why has that not really hit us yet? Right? Why is someone let's say your counterpart from whichever country gone public and say, listen, man, we love to, but hey.
Well, I think the thing is, in diplomacy, you never publicly out another country unless it's really like something
Drastic.
massive, like a human rights, they're killing people, whatever. So no one would tell you this officially.
Yeah.
But I think in the end of the day, it boils down to how exposed we are.
I'm happy that you are, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm happy that you say at least saying it.
Yeah, no, I
about
mean,
the reality.
I
Yeah.
think it's about how exposed you are, and I think it's
Yeah.
about how elected officials continue to talk down to people in St. Martin.
Yes.
So instead of saying, for example, prime example, I'll never forget this as long as I live. Pre-clearance was a very big thing in St. Martin for a number of years. Everyone wanted pre-clearance. It was wonderful. It was like a campaign ticket for about 2 elections. I remember clearly. We had to pass a couple of laws to let pre-clearance happen. One of which was to allow refugees to come to St. Martin.
Yes.
And how to handle them should they come.
Right.
Everyone wanted pre-clearance. No one was really bothering with the fact of this had to happen.
Right.
Fast forward, the US says we're not doing it for a number of different reasons we won't get into at this point.
Yeah.
But then now World Bank comes along, and the same exact tax laws that needed to be amended to allow World Bank to come is the same tax laws that the pre-clearance needed to have.
Interesting.
This current government was completely for pre-clearance. It didn't happen. But the same coalition in Parliament sat down and said, no, all these tax laws are not great. The World Bank is horrible. They're going to be tax-free. So Minister of Finance actually, interestingly, to his own coalition members, told them, but this is the same tax laws that you guys need to have for pre-clearance. But you see, everybody wanted pre-clearance for whatever reason they wanted pre-clearance, forgetting that this is actually part and parcel of also every time an international organization or entity comes here, you need this to happen. But of course, people's personal interests and what they thought was interesting made pre-clearance okay. The World Bank wasn't okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. That's an
There you go.
education. Thank you.
No. Always here to share.
I was civil servant. Do you ever worry about backlash from government when you as a candidate, a political candidate?
Yes.
No.
I think it depends on where you are in government. I think fundamentally, for me, I would say working in foreign affairs, you learn how to be diplomatic and how to say things and be respectful.
Yeah.
I also think that I'm not necessarily involved in the day-to-day of what's happening in government of St. Martin.
That is true.
It comes up to me somehow in different ways, but it's important to realize that
You're the country's MVP.
not only the MVP, I would
Yes.
say, but it's no, because it's not
They
that.
can't
But
hear
it's,
nothing.
no, I wouldn't be. Because, I mean, nobody's untouchable. At the end of the day, I can tell you, we've seen it. But
We've seen it now.
I always tell people
I've
that
experienced it.
I always tell people that people will try and undercut you, but I think my MO has always been, I can tell you the truth before you say I didn't tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't play those kind of games, but
Right.
I have seen people be victimized in government.
Yes. Yes.
Depending on their position, depending also on how strong and how much they believe in themselves. Because I am a person, I tell it to you how it is.
Yeah.
When I have an opinion about something, I say it in the hallway. I don't care if it's right or wrong. And everybody says, "Ooh, Patrice, yeah, there you go." I'm like, no, you all have to hear the truth. And I think what has happened constantly is that people surround themselves with sycophants, with people
Yeah.
who are yes men, and that's why we are where we are today.
Exactly.
And I'm happy you guys,
Exactly.
you guys said that is exactly what you do.
Exactly. Nope.
As a
Not at
party.
all.
Okay, well, you see, just like last time with Melissa mentioned, it was supposed to be a half an hour.
Don't worry, man. We good.
So Wednesday
Yes.
is Postulation Day.
Yes.
You guys are going at 9 o'clock. You ready?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Yeah, we were the first troop, Carnival staff. We
Yeah.
were the first ones up
one
there.
Are you ready to line everybody?
gosh.
I'll be lining everybody.
Oh, yeah, we're
Well,
there.
You feeling good? I mean,
Yeah.
selection.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we're feeling good. I think
We're
one of the
feeling pretty
things that has sustained our drive is that, PFP has what I would say a lot of silent supporters.
Yes.
They're not the person who don't go out there and start creating fake Facebook accounts and
Nope.
bashing anybody.
Nope.
We don't believe in that.
If it's a comment from us, you know it's us.
It's from us.
You know
and
it's
and
us.
and I think you're reinforced by not only the people who keep on telling you good job, but also knowing that fundamentally our motto has always been we're gonna do what's right no matter if we're liked or not.
Mike, one of the
I
things
love-
that I like is that from PFP is that people come to us. They can reach us. They hold
Yeah.
us accountable.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've heard before is that, I know that if I don't like something how you do, I could find out you.
Yeah.
And that's something that I like. And that was from someone that thought we weren't doing anything at 1st And then once they started really paying attention and seeing that they can contact us, that we'll give you feedback
guys are
based on what it is. We're
everywhere.
everywhere,
Yeah.
And that's something that makes a difference. We're not the type of politician that
Take
for
it personally.
election we roll with our windows down, but after January 11th we're gonna have our
Tinted.
windows up, tinted and AC.
Yeah.
That's not us. We're in the communities all the time, and it's because we're dedicated to what we want to see in our country. It's not that I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's something that I want my children to grow up here, and that's something that I like to say is that the like I said before, this do me a favor and I'll do you a favor culture has done no favors for St. Martin. So much so that our future, our students that are supposed to come back and bring back knowledge and help us grow don't want to come back. And the ones that are here, if they could, they would leave and not come back.
Yeah.
So, we can't call ourselves that we're a stable country if persons that we need as young professionals are opting out from wanting to be part of our economy, from wanting to be part of our society. So PFP is one of those that are not only targeting brain drain as a brand or a marketing tool. We're targeting brain drain by making sure that we are making the proper partnerships, doing the proper research, and telling people, hey, it's going to take some time, but this is what we're looking at, so that 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 8 years from now, the students that have gotten their degrees, the ones that we need to come back and help us, can be part of our society.
It's like you were in my brain because that was a segue into my next question. Which is going to be 4 years ago, there was a lot of young people who wanted to vote but couldn't. Like for PFP couldn't.
Yeah.
Now they can.
Wow, they can.
And so my question, I guess you probably answered a little bit already, is what are you telling them now?
And something that's very interesting because being in sports the way that I am, I do get the student athletes that realize that I have another hat.
Yeah.
They come after and they talk to you, and that's something that I like to mention is that our student athletes and our students in general, they're not blind.
No.
They're not naive.
Not this
If
generation.
anything,
Nope.
they're more
Engaged.
involved and engaged than before.
Yes.
And one of the reasons is because of social media.
Yep.
They have a medium where they can go and not only ask a question but give their opinion and see what it is. And I had one that came and told me that they find some adults lacking.
Yeah.
And
Imagine.
and that's you can't blame them. It's something that we have to do, and something that we do talking to those new voters is encouraging them to continue doing what we always talk about. Visit every single, well, now it's town halls, it used to be rallies. Visit every single
So
parties.
nobody's doing rallies for real?
Well, I don't know what everybody's doing, but
no,
I mean, what
I ain't
everyone's
seen
doing
one since-
leading up to election is
Yeah,
what
is
what is very much PFP.
PFP, but we tell them to educate
Go to
themselves.
everyone,
Go
exactly.
to everyone. It's your democratic right.
Yeah, approach all the candidates.
Approach all the candidates that
Yeah.
you can. Really make a decision for yourself. Step away from this. My grandmother told me I have to vote for this person because when I was a baby they gave me a pencil case. We gotta step away from that because this is the thing. Your ancestors or your parents, they voted based on problems that they wanted to see solved during their lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm saying today we're still seeing those problems that they voted for still part of
being a
our
problem.
lifetime.
Yep.
So obviously something didn't work.
Yeah.
So who's going to change it? Only the younger generation that is coming in and is saying, hey, no more. I'm tired of this. I want to see the country go in this direction. So I implore every single new voter, if you're 18 to the age of 25, you've never voted, or you're not sure where to vote, take a look at PFP. Take a look at what we're talking about. Come and visit us. We don't have multiple headquarters per candidate. You know, we're a party that actually is about being together, being one. And you can find us either at the Sucker Garden headquarters by where the old Mr. K's Cigar Lounge was, or you can go up to Simpson Bay right down the street from Cappuccino, and you'll see us there.
A lot of them don't know. My daughter's voting for the first time.
Oh wow!
And they said, "Daddy, we're going to vote for you." Tell us. I said,
No.
Absolutely not. You don't get homework.
Yeah,
you don't get homework.
That's admirable.
And this is what you're gonna have to do, and then you make up your own mind.
And we talk a lot about you know, that's something that MP Melissa Gumbs talks about too, is that, you know, you can't legislate character, and we talk about political maturity. And political maturity goes both ways. It's not just our candidates, it's also our constituents. Us as a population, we need to also have the maturity to educate ourselves, to be able to make the right decision. And this is something, you know, I like to tell the young people all the time, because they'll say, politics, this and that, it might be boring, I don't like watching the meetings, but guess what? Whether you're involved in politics or not, politics is involved in your life.
And I always tell, because you know, I work with young people as well, and I always tell them, I'm not going to be the person who told me back then, this is who you're going to be.
Exactly.
I'm not going to repeat that to this generation. You know, so.
But I've told people, you know, one of the things, and people have come to our rallies, and they've come, or not our rallies, our town halls. You know, you're so used to it now. Our town halls, you know, saying that, you know, they came with this person who took them to come because they got a vote here. Now I was like, listen, like, somebody told me, point out when they came to one of our ones in Sucker Garden, they said, you know, I'm actually a person. I just came because I didn't have a ride to get home, so stopping along the way. And I was like, okay. I said, no problem. I said, you're more than welcome. I said, you know, every party to me has persons or ideas that are good. The problem is not every party has what PFP has, which is basically an open space where these ideas come together and they're fleshed out.
And not only fleshed out, but fleshed out from a place of understanding, and not from a place of just trying to be right or trying to say, oh, I'm the leader and they got to be my way. No. We understand that from whatever walk of life you come from, there is a perspective in our society that you bring that will be of added value. And if we can get that added value and be able to make sure that we are more inclusive in not only our policies, but in the way that we speak and the way that we communicate and get information from the public, that it makes a difference.
You know, people in young adults, when they come back, they care about a lot of things, but also they care about housing. And they care about assistance, as maybe if someone want to be entrepreneurs. I mean, have you addressed this? Is your manifesto addressing this? So you have gone into this.
Yes, it is something that we and that's, you know, that's, again, I'm going to go right back to it. That's part of why we were so adamant about about tax reform. Of making sure that we had a proper tax plan that allows us to open up avenues to be able to do these things. Look, a reality is that, look, we have limited space. We see that we have spatial planning issues all over the country. And, you know, in order to do that, we have to be able to find out who it is that we can work with to be able to create, even if it's just, you know, temporary professional housing, so that persons can have some kind of midway between finding a career that they want or starting a business that they want, and being able to have, for example, maybe even incentivized lowered rent to be able to build a family. Some of them might be coming back with a family, and you know, they're looking, and then this is the thing, is that it's not that our professionals that have graduated don't want to come back. Believe you me, there are a lot that if they want to, if they prefer to be in their country.
Of course.
But the problem is that their country doesn't seem to prefer to have them there. So what we are telling, it's not ready for them. But it's not, the thing is that you could be not ready, but doing the steps to be ready. The issue is that they're not seeing any movement towards being ready either. PFP's manifesto talks about using taxes and using people partnership to be able to find not only the places where that can happen, but how that can happen. Because it's a conversation also of being able to have the jobs that are needed so that they can come back. So that means we have to be able to talk to the private sector to know what it is that's there.
What about compelling is a strong word in terms of diplomacy and negotiation. But investors, there's so many that want to come to the country.
But that's something Patrice talked about.
And it's again the thing of, just to go back just quickly on what Marvio said in terms of how we can advise people to come back. I work in government, and if you look at how government hires, and one of the things that I speak about as well is we need to restructure things like the LMA and the BERA, which govern civil servants.
Yeah, not for sure.
Yes.
You know, there are a lot of civil servants who have jobs, but they're what I've learned as a new term, the living poor, the working poor.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
when you have
Yeah.
people on
Yeah.
certain levels of scales and they can't negotiate a salary because, you can only go up one more step and you can't switch this, you can't. I'm like, this is so demotivating. I remember I came into government 10 years ago. There was a crop of young people in government. Most of them have left.
Of course.
Yes.
You know, I remain because thankfully I'm in an area of government that's
Correct.
really kind of dynamic and constant changing. But a lot of people are really demotivated in government, and I think in terms of how that translates towards investment, if you have people in government who are supposed to be going out there and creating policies to encourage investment, and they themselves making $2,000,
Yeah.
how can I come to an investor with any enthusiasm
True.
and kind of pull anything out to make it attractive? So one of the things we actually speak about, like and what Marvio spoke about too, things like profit tax changing, things like saying, for example, listen, if you invest X amount of money in this vetted and power NGO, you get a certain amount back in terms of your tax credit.
Tax credits.
We're also looking at things, for example, if you invest in certain industries, if you invest in things like green energy,
Right.
renewable energies, you're also going to get certain incentives from our tax plan
So-
in PFP.
So essentially, we have a priority list.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and with that priority list is where we look to making sure. And this priority list isn't just something that we just pull out of the wind.
No,
You know, it's something based on where we want to see the country going.
Yep.
And it's not just us. It's seeing where people have been talking about where they want to see their country going. Because the reality is that, you know, these higher level conversations that we have also affect the what we call the operational side of things.
Yep.
You know, we have people that complain about gray water and wastewater all over their streets. Well, guess what? If we don't have a proper way of being able to find the not only the money but also the process that's needed to be able to do that,
Right.
then it's not going to happen. What we'll
No.
have is patchwork, and we've
Yep.
seen patchwork. And what we're saying as PFP is there's enough patchwork. Enough patchwork in politics, enough patchwork in road work, enough patchwork in labor.
Yep.
We need to be able to actually take the difficult situation, which is, we don't like to hear the word, but we need research.
Yeah.
We need to be able
Data.
to go in and get
Yeah.
actual data. Let's
Yeah.
activate our stats department to do the things that we actually want them to do to find out the information
Yeah.
we need.
I think
that
it's-
1 in 4 families in poverty, I'm pretty sure that if
Yeah.
we go any deeper, it's much
That
more.
number-
It's much more.
that
And you know,
number's
I
nowhere
grew
near.
up.
It's much
I grew
more.
up
Yeah.
here, and I like to tell people
We
it
know
wasn't.
the
It
numbers
wasn't.
more.
It wasn't Irma
No.
that made people hungry.
No.
People been hungry on St. Martin
Yeah.
for a long, long time. It's just that we're very prideful,
Yeah.
and we like a carnival, and it makes us look good.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we don't have persons right now that are actually taking the steps needed to create that quality of life that they're trying to
Yeah.
piggyback off of.
You're
Yeah.
in poverty all over. the
Yes.
place.
And I
It's-
think it
Yeah.
boils down to the end of the day, you need a comprehensive plan, and government now working in silos.
Right.
You know, MP Deviva spoke about this morning on the radio, and she said, you know, when she brought forth her economic reform plan, she said, well, I have to address taxation as well.
Right.
And of course, as she mentioned, you know, it was a big thing because, you know, why are you touching taxes? Why, it's nothing to do with you? And she's like, well, no, if I have to change the economy of St. Martin, I have to look at things like the taxes, the infrastructure. But of course, everyone wants to get the shine. Like Marvio said, it's not my idea, I'm not running with it.
Yeah.
And essentially looking at a point of, oh, that's finance, that's economics, that's AZ, that's... No, it's government, and you have to work together. And what you see basically is that governments come together with these coalitions, and it's really not based on a massive development plan. It's based on, listen, you wanted this ministry, yeah, but I got some product.
Yeah, but-
it's very personal. So
but
what,
that's- that-
and
that-
you need that overarching plan to get to where you need to be.
And
That's what
and
PFP
I
is
guess-
bringing.
yeah.
That's
But-
why I guess Melissa said, you have a last page in that manifesto.
That's
with
yes.
some demands
Yeah.
or some.
Some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Non-negotiables.
Some non-negotiables.
Yes,
You
so
know,
at least you know where your
Yeah.
preferences.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
It's 5 minutes before time about 2 o'clock.
Went fast. Yeah,
Went
yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
boy. Went real
Oh.
fast.
So I want to again, in case you just joined us, we're having a conversation with 2 of the candidates, 2 of the stalwarts, 2 of the founders of the
Okay.
people, the Party for Progress. So Patrice Gumbs,
Yep.
Marvio.
Yep.
You guys have any last words?
Go ahead,
for
Patrice.
folks?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for chiming in. I'm going to put on a different hat just very quickly and say that for all, I'm the Monument Council Chair. And for this evening at 7 o'clock, we have a meeting at Pasture Peace with one of the monuments on LB Scotch Road with funding opportunities. Because one of the things that have been the biggest plague of everyone who's a monument owner is basically funding. We have written to the minister in past 4 years talking about the need to get the monument fund going.
House on it?
Sorry?
It's a large house, a monument?
Yes, her house is a monument.
So, okay, they got a meeting tonight.
Yeah. So tell her come out 7 o'clock basically, because again, it's about the whole idea of partnerships. You can't do it alone. Yeah. So it's a combination between the Martin Museum, the Martin National Heritage Fund, of course, the Monument Council, with Restauratie Funds in the Netherlands, opportunity for low interest loans. Back on the PFP hat.
You got to come back after election or whatever. Even if you're elected. And talk about the monument.
Yeah, perfect. Right. No, and then just back on the PFP hat, I think again, we're not here just to talk. And I think, like Marvio said, people are tired. It's been 4 years. We've seen improvements. We have seen not improvements as well. We have to have now, like we said, a government going forward. It's going to be a very challenging 4 years. Don't let anybody fool you. Government has limited finances, limited capacity. You need people in there who get the bigger picture, who have a big picture plan, and who is capable and able to look at all the different things happening abroad and locally and how to make a better St. Martin. I think come January 11th, vote for PFP. We always tell everybody, you don't have to vote for Patrice or for Marvio, just put your vote in PFP, because everybody in PFP is a collaboration, it's a partnership. If I can't do it and if somebody else appeals to you, go ahead and vote for that person. But come January 11th, make that change, choose progress. We have it in our national motto, Sempre Progrediens. So why don't we choose progress?
Choose progress.
Come January 11th, choose progress.
All right.
And I got 2 hats to wear real quick. Tomorrow, Swaliga Youth Basketball Association kicks off its season 2, from 5 o'clock at the LB Scott Sport Auditorium. The tickets for under 18 is $1. We kept the tickets the same, and for adults it's $3. And now back to PFP. I'd like to let you guys understand. Oh no, we're gonna talk about
facilities fixed. Well,
that's something else. That's why I stayed short on it, because facilities fixed.
Yep.
But look at PFP's manifesto to see how exactly we're not only going to facilitate fixing facilities, but maintaining them. Because that's something. I'm maintaining them, but that also. But we'll talk about that another time.
Exactly.
But I'd like to tell the people of St. Martin that look, we need to do the country a favor by stopping this favor for a vote culture that we have.
Yes.
Do the country a favor, take a look at PFP, take a look at our manifesto, because you've seen what's happened in the past 4 years and you know the complaints because you've been complaining. So take a look at what PFP is talking about, our candidates. Take a look at candidates like me, Marvio Cooks, candidates like Patrice Gumbs, candidates like Melissa Gumbs, candidates like MP Rayon Peterson. Why? Because we have been doing the work. It's not that it's election and now we're coming out, hey.
Yeah.
We've been out there. And just like Patrice said, we need persons that understand how it is to be not only on the high level, but also with you, the people of St. Martin.
Yep.
You need persons that understand what your situation is. And these are candidates that we have that have lived and are living the life that you are living. Right. So come January 11th, 2024, take a look at the gold standard, which is PFP, and put your trust in us, in PFP, so that you can see that a governing PFP is a PFP that you will need and will want there. So come January 11, 2024, do your right. Whether it's for the gold standard or not, make sure you at least vote. And if you're a young voter, don't follow tradition. Follow what you need. Right. And make sure that what you need is not just a hand or 500 guilders in your hand today. What you need is a country that you can be proud of 4 years from now.
Well said. Wednesday. Do you guys have any people supposed to meet you anywhere? You're marching anything?
Yeah. So we are going to be meeting at Clement Bigger Square in front of the old government building. We are handing our list at 9 o'clock. So we'll be starting around 8:45. We'll be there for sure. Come out and join us. We are basically going to march to the government building. All support is more than welcome.
Yes.
If you feel like you've been hearing us, you resonate with us, come out. Even just grab one of us on the side, talk us, ask us
even
what's
if it's just to
on.
see if I'm really that tall. Just come out
and
check it out.
There we go. 6'9"?
Yeah.
I'm
You have to go where to try to be tall.
Yeah. So Wednesday, come out 9 a.m. to find out how tall Marvio is, and also that come out and grab one of us, and here we have to see.
Exactly.
And be part of the movement, because we're a movement. We're not a political party. We're a movement.
Gentlemen, I want to congratulate you on the, of course, the initiative that was passed to the removal of the curtains in the voting booths. That is a real win for democracy. Those of us who've been in the game know what happens, what that does.
Yep.
And so congratulations on that. That is the biggest thing I think in the election process is Martin for years.
It's true electoral reform.
It's
a step towards it.
It's one of the first steps.
And guess what? it was done by the party that some people say aren't doing anything.
Yeah,
we're there. It's just
you're right. Through reform in the flesh. So congratulations on that, and good luck to you and the team.
Thank you.
Moving forward, make sure you give Rosalinda a lot of
we
support
will.
because she has excellent ideas and
yes, she
education.
does.
So congratulations again, and hope to see you guys back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Very
having us.
happy to be here.
All right, folks, keep it locked to 88.3 FM. We will be right back.